I want to start with the almost $1 million payout.
You don't make $1 million in 25 days by getting lucky, right? I've had a lot of runs in the past where I know I'll be back there. I have the previous data to support my thesis. I don't care about the strategy. The most important part of trading is
most traders today have a goal of hitting that one big home run trade. Today's guest thinks that mindset is exactly what keeps most traders stuck.
people underestimate what they can do in 2 to 3 years and overestimate what they can do in 1 to 2 months. People love to say, oh, I've been trading for 5 years and I haven't figured it out. I was like, you've been gambling for 5 years. You haven't been trading for 5 years. A person who is struggling financially, trading's probably not the best way to go get into, right? Do it when you're sick.
Today's guest is Dhesi, an ICT-style futures trader who documented his entire journey publicly. As part of that journey, he showed a run that made him almost $1 million in just 25 days.
One sign that I'm about to overtrade is when I question my entry and what I'm looking at. When I'm trading normally, I never hesitate. I always have key areas of liquidity marked out. If those areas of liquidity get ran without me going in the market, that's it. I'm done. I'm not going to overstay my welcome. I'm not going to trade after the targets have already been hit because...
But to me, what stood out wasn't actually the numbers. It was the mental shift that he had to make in order to achieve it. In today's episode, you're going to find out why limiting your trades and not trying to find more setups is often the key to real consistency.
I already think if you need someone to help you become accountable, you're kind of already on the wrong path of trading because...
I'm going to jump straight into it, if you don't mind.
No, go for it.
And I want to start with the almost $1 million payout, right? Because I think this is something that probably most people are going to pay a lot of attention to.
Exactly.
The question I want to hit you with is, when you're on a run like that, such large numbers, such a short space of time, what do you feel like is your biggest enemy? Do you think it's the market or yourself?
It's definitely myself. And what I know through my life of trading and through the experiences that I have is I need to rely on what happened in the past to guide me to going further. So if you guys know this, some people might not know, but in August, I was 10 days away from a $400,000 payout. Within 4 days, that entire payout built over 45 plus trading days was gone. I blew it. And that was a big hit because I was already kind of mentally celebrating, oh, 400K payout, this is huge, this is big. And then right when I was about to cross the finish line, I crashed really hard, blew the entire account. I still took my payouts from it, but it was just pretty much a disaster going into the end of August. And I knew I'd be back. I didn't know how fast I'd be back. I don't know when I'd be back. And then in November, lightning struck, right? The market conditions were good. And as a trader, it's on you to capitalize on market conditions. It's never the market's fault, whether you're losing or winning. It's your fault at the end of the day. When the market tips its hand, you must be able to capitalize on it. And while I was on my run, while I got back to that $300,000, $400,000 mark, and I was like, okay, I'm doing it in a faster time because the market conditions are good. I'm able to build up quicker. Let me not make the same mistakes I did last time. Let me not already start celebrating something I don't have. I was already counting, okay, plus 300K in my bank account is going to look really nice. I was already counting all that. I was already thinking about the Lamborghinis, the Ferraris, and this time I was like, look, there's a lot more work to be done. And people might think it's corny, but that Kobe, the very famous Kobe, when he's like, when the guy's asking him, are you up 2-0? He's like, what's there to be happy about? The job's not finished. And I had a similar mindset to that. I'm like, there's nothing why should I be happy about this? There's nothing that's in my bank account from these accounts yet. Yeah, I'm trading great. The market conditions are great, but at the end of the day, I still need to cross that finish line. So anytime I have like a really hot streak and really pushing it, I rely on the previous experiences that I had to guide me forward. And that's how I always say it's always on me, not the market. Right? The market's going to do what it's going to do. So to me, to not take that trade or maybe size down a couple days. It just, there's a lot of different factors. It's all on you though. And then you can use your previous experiences to guide you forward.
Yeah, I love that, man. There's a couple of things that you mentioned there that I really want to focus in on a little bit. The first one is the loss. Yeah. Before the big run up, the loss, right? Which actually you've spun off and it's become this very positive thing for you.
Exactly.
Now, the reason I want to dive into this is I know from firsthand experience, I'm in a very fortunate place where I get to connect and speak with hundreds of traders.
Exactly.
And one of the things I think a lot of people struggle with is shrugging off those moments. They can have these big blow ups, but instead of learning from them and coming back and doing better like you've been able to do, they're haunted by them and they get stuck in that same place. How did you manage to find that transition? How did you take the loss into a lesson and turn it into something better in the future?
You might not believe what I'm about to say, but as soon as I took that loss, I was mad for about a couple hours. And then I told myself, look, this is meant for a bigger purpose. I truly believe everything happens for a reason in trading, right? Throughout my entire career, I've had setbacks, but every time I've had a setback, as soon as it happens, the first thing I think of, what can I learn from this? Because you're going to have setbacks in trading. You're going to have setbacks in life. You're going to have, it's never always going to be an exponential chart, right? You're going to have pullbacks in your life, in trading, whatever the case may be. So for you to not be able to learn from your past experiences is almost a disservice to yourself in my eyes, because what is that loss there for? If you're just going to continue blowing up after that loss, then it's like, there's no point. I just thought about it. I paid my tuition. It was a very expensive tuition, but I paid for it. What can I learn from it? Because I know I will be back there. You don't make $1 million in 25 days by getting lucky, right? I've had a lot of runs in the past where I know I'll be back there. I have the previous data to support my thesis of, okay, I will be back. I just don't know when. It might not be for a year, 2 years, 3 years. I don't know, but I will be back. And the losses ever since early in my journey, in my trading career, the earliest setbacks I've had in 2022, as soon as it happened, I told myself, this is all going to happen for a reason. It's going to mold me into what trader I am next year and 2 years and 3 years, right? I've been trading since early 2021, but I still feel like there's so much more I need to learn about myself. The technical side of things isn't really that big of a focus to me, right? It's more about what can I learn about myself. And those losses reveal a lot of bad habits that I have, not only in trading, but outside of trading. I tell myself, I'm going to do this, and I don't do it sometimes, right? Lying to yourself is the worst thing in the world. So if I'm doing that on the charts, it also kind of helps me shape my life outside the chart and seeing, okay, if this is an issue that's occurring on the charts, maybe this is an issue that's expanding and coming from an outside source, right? And that's why I use those losses, whether it's in life, whether it's in trading, to not only better my trading, but also better my life and what I'm doing outside of trading.
I love that, man. I think there's so many people that get stuck on the idea that to improve their performance in the markets, it's all about the chart work. Mm-hmm. It's the strategy, it's the entry, it's the exit. They focus in on something visual, right? But I think the hardest thing that most people miss is actually looking internally. And I think that's hard because you can't really point the finger at somebody else. You have to take a lot of ownership, responsibility. And that's the second point of actually what you demonstrated at the start, which I find quite admirable, right? Which you own everything. You don't blame the market for anything. You say, it was my job. I took responsibility for that. I took that trade. I decided to do X, Y, and Z. And that led me to that decision. Was that something that you always had in you? Or did you, again, get molded to start thinking that way?
That's something that I always believe in. Everything happens for a reason. And I always believe in the actions that are currently happening is based off of the choices you make. And that's something that my parents have taught me in my life as well. So I think growing up and listening to them saying that, going to trading, it was natural, right? And in trading, especially, it's a lonely game. Like at the end of the day, you can have people around you to help you, but it's you and the charts. You're going to be the one clicking the buttons. You're the one who's going to have to pay your bills, right? So when people are looking at something else to blame, at the end of the day, it's yourself. And the hardest thing to admit as a human is you're wrong, right? It's very, very difficult, but it's something that you just need to do in trading, because if you don't, and you start pointing the fingers and you don't understand that it's your discipline issue, it's a consistency issue, it's a you not waking up on time issue, being late issue, whatever the case may be, it's going to be all on you, because like I said, no one's going to come to save you. No one's going to get a payout for you. No one's going to press the button for you. It's just a very lonely game. And it's something that is very rewarding as well, because it is stressful. You wake up every single day and you have to make the decisions. To me, that's beautiful. I don't have to wait for anyone else to decide anything for me. I'm making the decisions. I'm in control, and I'm rewarded in this game because it's an infinite amount of money I can make, right? That's how trading is. But obviously, no one's going to make an infinite amount. But it is very, very special when you start understanding yourself and understanding how you're the one dictating everything that's going on in your life. The last thing what I hated about school, we'll probably get into that later, is like, I didn't want someone else dictating anything for me. So when I got into this game and I was understanding early when I was taking my losses that this is, okay, just fully reliant on myself, that got me excited. That got me going. I was like, okay, this is exactly what I've been looking for my whole life. And now I'm ready to tackle it.
Yeah, I love that. There's a lot of people that get stuck with that mentality, because I think, I mean, at least from how I observe the industry in general, it's never been easier to become a trader. And I think that's a blessing and a curse for a lot of people, right? Blessing in the sense that it's opened up so many opportunities. And I think we as human beings should be able to do whatever it is we want to do. But curse in the sense that actually I think there's probably not a lot of people that are cut out for this industry, but they will end up caught in this cycle of gambling, right? And it's a very easy trap to fall into. Is that something that you feel like you've ever suffered with?
I didn't suffer in terms of the gambling, but I've seen so many people, because when I first started, prop firms weren't as big as they are now. Now the entry level is so low. You can go buy an account for $20, $100, $200, right? Very reliable firms. They pay out, just the big popular firms, everyone can use them. The issue is the mindset going into it. Yeah. Right? A lot of these guys, the new guys, are coming from sports betting. And I can go a whole tangent. I think sports betting is ruining kids my age, like completely. And they're using the sports betting mindset and like that casino mindset and going into trading. And at the end of the day, they're like, oh, it's only $20, $20, $20. You got to stop thinking about it as a dollar. Not only are you losing money, you're losing time. Time is priceless. You can't get that back. You simply going to go buy a valuation, bull porting it, blowing it, doing it again. You're wasting precious time, right? And I always say the entry, like you said, it's a blessing and a curse. There's a lot of information out there, a lot of good information, a lot of bad information, a lot of good prop firms, a lot of bad prop firms too. And overall, I think it just depends on the person's mindset going into trading. Because a lot of people think it's a hobby. They think it's a part-time job. This is something that you have to dedicate your entire few years at least to, right? Well, maybe once you get the hang of it, you could go into more of a swing trading where you can just chill out, manage the positions every couple months, whatever. But starting off, it's intense. It's like learning a new language. If you're going to learn a new language and you're trying to figure it out and it has financial risk to it, you're going to put all your time into it. You're not going to go in there and just do a bunch of bullshit and that's it, right? So I think it's the mindset of the person going into the prop space, because when I joined the prop space, I was already a profitable trader. Okay. So I didn't think of it as I'm going to gamble these accounts. It was more of I can add leverage in my arsenal. And that's what I do with prop firms, right? I do end up leveraging a little bit more than I do on my personal live accounts, because I think the risk to reward is pretty amazing on those.
Trading education is completely broken. For years, the industry has been purged and poisoned by bad actors, fake results, and strategies hidden behind paywalls. But in every industry, every once in a while becomes a catalyst, a moment in time for change. Now imagine a world where elite trading education was entirely free. Education with no hidden agenda, verified trading results, and real profitable strategies, all for free. Welcome to Chart Academy. Chart Academy is the world's first all-in-one platform for trading education. Chart Academy is free. No catch, no upsells, no strings attached. World-class trading education, completely free.
Hi, my name's Randy Howell, and welcome to my Chart Academy Masterclass.
This is completely revolutionary. The biggest change in trader education in 20 years.
My name is Carmine Rosado. I'm a verified 7-figure trader. I've been trading for 10 years now.
The reason why a lot of traders fail is because they...
Ultimately, this work is about self-mastery.
Trading education will never be the same again.
Browse hundreds of hours of content in Forex, futures, stock, options, and crypto from the best verified traders on the planet, all in one platform. Experience a completely personalized trading plan tailored to you and your goals. Reach milestones, redeem points, and earn rewards with a massive global community. Whether you trade Forex, futures, stock, options, or crypto, Chart Academy has something for you. Join the waitlist now and be part of a movement that is going to change trading education forever.
You touched on a really important point that I think I want to focus on a little bit more, which was the aspect of time. And this is a part which I think actually not a lot of people spend enough energy on, thinking about what it means for them specifically. And I want to try and give something valuable to those that are watching about maybe what's the best use of their time. But I want to split this into maybe two different parts. Okay. The first one is actually maybe finding your edge. If there's a layout or a blueprint that you would advise for someone to help them to find their edge. But then secondly, and I think the one I'm going to be more interested in is actually the psychological edge, right? You've talked a lot about the mentality behind what it takes to succeed. What would that look like for somebody that's coming in from a completely different industry to develop the mindset to thrive in a probabilistic environment?
Okay, so the first one in terms of finding your edge,
Yeah.
right? Once again, we're living in an era where it's so very accessible. You can go in on TradingView and open up a demo account, right? That's the first thing I would do. If you're learning and going into props, go on a demo account. Do not go straight into a evaluation. Go into a demo account. Try out different things. I'm an ICT trader, and I know a lot of ICT traders love to bash on other strategies. Every strategy works, and I'm a deep believer of this. It's about the person themselves, right? If you like ICT, watch ICT mentorship. If you like EMAs, go watch. Watch it and apply it. That's the most important thing. Apply it to what you're doing in terms of demo trading. Once you get comfortable demo trading, and it might take you months, and I advise people to do it for months and months and months. And this is where the time comes in, right? You're going to have to put in a lot of time, right? Even if it's a couple hours a day, that's perfectly fine. Just get your edge down and do it over a repeatable amount of times over 2-3 months. Then you go into evaluation accounts. It's a little bit more high pressure, a little bit more at stake. You're actually putting in real money in terms of buying the prop firm account. Go explore and see if your edge works. See how you manage with different sizes, different instruments, different, whether you're an NQ trader, ES trader, a gold trader, whatever. Experiment. This is the experimental phase, right? And this all is within the first 6 months, 2 to 3 months of demo. If it takes you 3 months, 4 months to pass the evaluation, guess what? That's actually really good. Within the first year passing an eval, and then you go into a funded stage. It's a little bit more pressure now. You're actually going to extract money from the markets. And it's not going to be a smooth ride. You might blow a couple of evaluations and you might fine tune a little bit of things. And that's the beauty of it, right? You go in, something doesn't work, and you see a pattern. And this is why journaling is so important, because you see a pattern. If you stack up all my losses that I ever took in my life, it's going to be a couple of things that are very, very obvious on what I'm doing wrong. As soon as I kind of pull back from those and I eliminate those, the wins start occurring. And you're not going to be perfect all the time. Those habits might creep up. It happens to me too. They creep up. I take a loss, or I'm not patient enough, or I'm not disciplined enough. I might take an extra trade. That happens as part of life. You're a trader, right? And then that's how I would build the technical aspect of it.
Okay. So the second part was more on the psychological edge. That's what I always like to call it, right? It's how do you get someone that's come from maybe a completely different industry? Because I certainly find that most people are not naturally wired to think in probabilities.
Yep.
What blueprint would you help lay out for someone to help them to start thinking like they need to be for a successful trader?
Gotcha. The first thing I would tell them, you are not paid by time, you are paid by your decisions. That is the most important thing in trading. Someone could sit on their desk for 10 hours, 12 hours and not make any progress. If they're over here buying and selling randomly, then there is no 10 hours. People love to say, oh, I've been trading for 5 years and I haven't figured it out. Right? I remember this was a YouTube viewer who showed up on my stream. I personally DM'd him on Discord after, and I told him, what have you been doing in these 5 years? He told me what he's been doing. I was like, you've been gambling for 5 years. You haven't been trading for 5 years.
Yeah.
Whether someone who might spend 1 hour on the charts, but make correct decisions, use the time wisely, might be more profitable and quicker to profitability, right?
Yep.
So you're not paid by the time, you're paid by your decision. That's the number one thing. And the thing of probabilities, right, is you basically, when you find an edge, right, I run probably like a 65% win rate, right? I might lose 10 trades in a row. It might happen. It's a game of probabilities, right? The law of averages will always kick in. If I'm winning 20 trades in a row, I understand I'm about to lose a good
100%.
amount in a row too, right? Can you be disciplined enough and tell yourself, okay, I need to see where this goes in a couple years. People underestimate what they can do in 2 to 3 years and overestimate what they can do in 1 to 2 months, right? Build the edge and let the edge play out over years. That's how you know if this is meant for you. And in trading, you can probably test it as a couple years is nothing.
Yeah.
It goes by quick.
Yeah.
Quarter 1 through 4 happens, and another quarter 1 through, and you're done, right? So if you're coming into new to trading, the thing I would talk about probabilities is you need to let it play out over 1,000 to 2,000 to 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 trades, right? When you're playing at, and I use this analogy a lot, is if you're the house in blackjack or whatever, right? Blackjack's probably the closest to 50-50, like I think it's 51-49. The house might lose 5 hands in a row, right? but they have an edge that over 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 hands, they will come out on top. And that's the same mentality you have to apply to trading. And that will allow you to not tilt off a few trades. That will allow you to not over leverage, over trade, and things like that. If you're confident that over 1,000, 2,000 trades that you will come out on top. A lot of people don't believe in compounding gains because they've never done it.
Yeah. I resonate with this a lot. There's so much of what you said there that I felt like you were speaking to my younger version of myself. Because I was that guy. The first 6 years of my trading journey, lost money. And I had that same realization where you said, well, what have you been doing all this time? And I wasn't journaling. I wasn't collecting data. You make all those silly mistakes because I think at the start, I don't know where I was lured into this idea, but I always believed that I had to find certainty. And the more you try and find certainty, it's a rabbit hole that never stops, right? You're just constantly digging. So it's until you get to that idea of what you said, which is accepting that this is always going to be a game of probability. But it's the hardest thing for a lot of people, especially when there's money on the line. And I think that's what not a lot of people are prepared for. And this is why I wanted to kind of break that question up into, yes, there's a technical aspect and it's massively important in terms of how you approach things, but having the psychology to support it and actually make sure that it plays out in the way that you hope is also massive, right? I think one thing that you mentioned right at the very end, which is having that trust that your data, your edge is actually going to play out over a large sample size. I think that's something that a lot of people just generally lack, right? And I always try and take this from a very static point of view, right? Static meaning, I think I might have just made that up. A statistical point of view is probably the better way to put it, right? I always like to remind people from a statistical perspective, if you have a 50% hit rate, there's a good chance that over the next 500 trades, you're going to take somewhere between 8 to 10 losses in a row.
Yep.
And that's perfect execution. That's not missing any trades. That's showing up, doing everything right, not tilting. That's absolute perfection. You're still going to take 8 to 10 losses in a row. So when I speak to someone and they say, well, I've taken 5 losses in a row, my strategy must be broken. I'm like, you just don't understand statistics.
Exactly.
You don't have the right expectations. So you've touched on this as well, which is you want to start building that mindset that puts a lot of emphasis on probabilities over time. Are you a big fan of doing things like backtesting and collecting data? Or is that a big start that you do?
I think if you don't have an edge at all, I think backtesting is a great tool to kind of gain an edge. The only critique I have of backtesting is the market condition itself. If you take me back to a point in time in the market 3 years ago and I'm backtesting it, I might be way worse than I am right now because I don't understand the market conditions. So for me, when I would prefer forward testing and live testing, when you're trading a demo account, apply what you're learning, from that demo or from whatever video you're watching, ICT, EMAs, whatever, apply it to real time. That is the number one way to learn, in my opinion, because I think backtesting just lacks what's happening in the market.
Okay.
Right? If someone goes and from 5 years from now, they go back and trade the Trump tariffs, I guarantee you they'll take so many losses because a lot of trades look very good. A lot of, their setup might be presenting itself all the time, but it's just not working out. You need a live test because in that live testing is also going to build experience. Nothing ever will beat trader discretion, right? Some days you probably know that this is an A+ setup. It looks so good, but you don't take it because the day it's not high probability. And it's hard to explain to someone who hasn't felt it. And that comes from that experience.
Yeah.
So I would, backtesting is okay. I'm not a huge fan of it. Live testing is the way to go because you're actually going to see how the market plays out in real time, what the market conditions are looking like, and just experiencing way more than you would if you just go back to a random point in time.
Fair. And so if someone was to follow that path of going down the route of live testing, forward testing something, how much data do you need to gather to ensure that you've got enough to give yourself a good chance of making this work in real time when there's money on the line?
That's a great question. And the easy answer for me would be like, it depends on the person. But let's just say if we're all in the same playing field, I would say if you get 500 trades under your belt, right, within, I don't know how many months it would take you. And that's including backtesting plus live testing.
Okay.
Because you're not going to take 500 trades in 3 months, right?
Yeah.
Unless you're like just over trading.
Yeah.
So I think if you get a 500 trade sample, see what works, and you need a journal. Journaling is so key because, like I said, your wins will have a common factor and your losses will have a common factor. And noticing those two are huge and very important as you grow as a trader. A sample size of 500, I think, is good because then you could, like I said, this is such a good thing for new traders. You can go into a prop firm that's not that expensive and put on a little bit more pressure, right? Light that fire under your butt just a little bit. And I think you apply what you learn from those 500 trades to the evaluation and then see where it goes. If you blow it, you might go back to, it's totally fine to go back to demo trading and fixing little things, right? But I think 500 is good because at some point, you do want to feel that pressure in terms of, okay, I have something at stake because that's how trading is, right? People could be the greatest demo traders, but they can't do it on a live account or a evaluation or funded account. So get to demo trading, get like 500 trades under your belt via live trading or live testing and also back testing, and then go into a evaluation and see how you do. Don't set any pressure on yourself in terms of, oh, I have to pass this or I have to do that. Make sure you're good financially as well too. Yeah. There's a lot of outside factors that can affect your trading, whether you need to pay bills, whether you need to pay college tuition or whatever the case may be. If you're a person who is struggling financially, trading's probably not the best way to go get into, right? Do it when you're secure. Do it when you have other things going on. Don't quit your job. Don't drop out of school, things of that nature as well. They go a long way.
Okay, let's take a quick break here, and I want to tell you about a prop firm that's actually trusted and proven to pay their traders. There's only one name you need to know about. It's Tradeify. You see, Tradeify Futures is one of the most trusted names in the industry. They've had consistent and stable operations over the last few years, and they've paid out over $125 million to traders. The best part about doing business with them is there's no hidden rules. There's no denied payouts. As long as you hit your objectives, you get paid. It's pretty simple. Now, here's what Tradeify gives you that actually matters as a trader. They've got flexible plans in place that you can get paid out daily. You've got the ability to pass evaluations in just a single day. And if you don't even want to mess around with evaluations, they've got instant funding plans as well. Honestly speaking, their dashboard is one of the best in the game. They've got an inbuilt journaling process that allows you to trade, track, and improve your results over time. That's how real consistency is built. Now, before we get back to the episode, I want to share a massive update. Tradeify Crypto has officially launched. This is going to give you better pricing for crypto-funded accounts. And you're also trading with institutional liquidity from exchanges like Binance, OKX, and Bybit. This is honestly giving you the best trading conditions possible. On top of that, the payout setup is simple. On-demand payouts. If you hit your objectives, you get paid. It's as simple as that. I personally think regardless of whether you trade futures or crypto, Tradeify is the move to make. Now make sure you use the code PFT at checkout to make sure that you get the best deal available. Links in the description below. I'm glad we're giving sensible advice here because I think that there's a lot of people that will take this completely the opposite way. You should go all in, you should quit your job. And again, it's not that I don't believe in taking risk. It's that I think that there's a good logical way to do things because I've been that guy on both sides of things. And I understand the pressure that money has on you, especially when it's on the line. You don't have any, right? Trading is, like you said at the very beginning of today, which is like, it's a performance sport. You're paid to make good decisions. And if you don't have the right mental headspace to be able to make those good decisions, it's always going to come back on you at some point in time. So 100%. Great advice. I think the aspect that really stands out for me in what you said there is going back to the idea of, again, making sure you're in the right headspace to be able to make those decisions going forward. And the one thing you specifically mentioned was making sure financially you're in a good place. Now, I think, and I see this a lot with the prop firm space, I see that there are a lot of traders that are relying on giveaways, some kind of handout in order to get their start. And look, don't get me wrong, I'm not against any of those things. And I think, for some people, they need that help to get off the line. But it goes back to what you said, which is kind of like, if you have that pressure behind you already, it's going to infinitely work against you. What would you say to the trader that is maybe not in the best financial space about how to get started going forward?
I would say if you're serious about trading and you really want to get into it, but you just don't have the capital to do so, there's nothing wrong. And I think this is such a bad moment for like kids my age because they see people with jobs and like, oh my God, he has a job. It's so bad. Get a job, right? Yeah. When I started trading, I ended up blowing up my brother's bank account, put him in negative. Everyone who knows me knows it went really bad when I first started. I got a job. I was working at a amusement park in my local city. I worked there for 8 to 9 months. I saved up to buy a PC and I saved up capital to trade. And unfortunately for me, I didn't have profit back then, so straight options. But put a little bit of money on the side like you would do for like the gym or something of that nature, right? If you're really serious about it, as long as you're working a job and you can learn while working too. You don't have, the thing is, it doesn't cost money to start learning. And that's so important that people don't realize is they think they need $10,000 to get into trading. No, YouTube is free. TradingView, you have to pay like, I think it's like $10 per month, right? To actually get the back testing and all that stuff. Look, the entry barrier is really low. So while you're doing your job or school or whatever the case may be, you can learn. And while that's happening, over 3 to 6 months of you demo trading and things of that nature, you can now have, let's say you saved $100 a month. You have $500, $600, $700 to your disposal. And that's when you can do one evaluation, right? Take your time with it. It should take you a couple of weeks, at least a month, especially if you're just starting, right? If you're not over leveraging and things of that nature, it should take you a decent amount of time. And another thing is, if you're buying the evaluation, don't full port it, because you're robbing yourself of the experience of trading. And that's what a lot of people do. That's why a lot of people go years without profitability, in my opinion, especially now in the prop firm space, is they're robbing themselves of that experience of trading because they're going in there with the mindset, I want to pass in one day. I want to get my payout quick, and they fall. So take your time. You can learn while you're working a job, save some money on the side, and then get into it when you're comfortable, because there's never going to be a perfect moment of getting into it, but there is going to be a moment where you are relieved of some financial burden. You might have some, but you can make it work, right? So just putting some money to the side for those prop firm evaluation. Look, I always say, and I want to talk to the camera direct, like prop firms changed my life. They allowed me to reach heights that I never thought I would. With a live account, I don't think I would be able to make $1 million in a month or whatever the case may be. But the prop firms have seriously changed my life. And I want people to understand, you can do it, save some money on the side, learn while you're working a job or going to school, and then invest your time wisely into it. Like, I'm very passionate about it, and I hate when people go in and they just do whatever they want, they blow up, and they're like, trading is a scam. No, it works. I'm living proof that it works. The people who else are on the podcast, they're living proof of this works. And just make sure you're using your time wisely and putting yourself in a position where you're getting a full experience of it.
I love the way you put it and how you said you're robbing yourself of the experience of it, right? By trying to rush the process in your early days, by not doing the right things and treating your journey at the start in the way that you should, you're robbing yourself of that experience. And I think it's the best way to look at it. You have to understand that, for me, at least, I look at trading as kind of like the climbing the mountain that has no top. It's just a constant journey of evolution. I think at the start of my journey, I was very fooled into thinking that at some point I would get to a certain stage where the markets would become easy. I would understand every move. I would never have emotions, and I could just print money on demand. And that's the kind of expectation. I think it's still kind of purported that way by the social media gurus, which is why I like and respect a lot of what you guys do, in that you're transparent in your journey. Do you ever find that bit hard in terms of the pressure that it adds to your own ability to trade, knowing that you're kind of documenting it for a lot of people?
I don't necessarily see it as pressure, because at the end of the day, like, everyone could say what they want to say, but it's just me. I got to take care of myself, right? And I actually enjoy it, because for every 100 supporters, there's a couple haters, whatever, right? But seeing other people, and this is what makes me happy. And people, this past weekend at the trading event, someone asked me, how do you feel that you're so successful at your age, right? And I was like, what do you mean? They're like, oh, you made so much money. And I've always said this from the start. I never documented my success in terms of money. I documented it in terms of how many people I've impacted, right? So for me, posting my wins and losses, seeing those people, take that and kind of get a realistic mindset of trading and learning from me, whether it's through YouTube videos or whatever the case may be, and going on their own and applying what I know psychologically to their own trading and winning, that to me is the best. And that's why I'll continue to do social media, because I love doing that. And a lot of people, when they do watch my streams and things of that nature, it's never really about, oh my God, look, that technical setup was so good. It's more like, I appreciate your patience. I appreciate your process going into your trading. I appreciate that you're not going to take this trade just because you see this. There's no FOMO and things like that, because I try to show the realistic side of trading in terms of, it's boring. It's boring. There could be times where I sit on live for 2 hours and I'm not doing anything. The market might be going 500 points to help me. Today was a great example. I don't know when this video will be out, but the market rallied almost 1.5%. I didn't do anything because my setup wasn't there. And I'm not going to go FOMO in, or I'm not going to go press random button just because the market is running without me. I understand there'll be a next trade. There'll be tomorrow, the next week, next month, whatever the case may be. And to me, that's why I love doing the social media side of things, because I just try to be as transparent as possible in terms of how trading actually is. And I have burnouts too in trading. And I think it's important for people to see that, because you as a trader, you go in there every single day, it gets mentally taxing and you need breaks. And just because you're profitable or whatever the case may be, that doesn't mean you don't need the breaks. You definitely need the breaks. And I think just showcasing little things like that is a reason why I feel no pressure when it comes to social media, because I'm just showing what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis. It's not like I'm showing you guys something that, I'm making $1 million a day every single day. I'm not like lying about it or anything like that. There's no pressure. This is natural. This is what I do on a day-to-day basis. Win or lose, I'm going to show you guys, and there's that.
Do you ever get people that kind of watch or look over your performance? And the part that I'm actually most interested in is the part where you talked about boredom, right? Where you talked about there's often periods of time where the market might be moving and you're not doing anything. Do you ever get people that question that and say like, well, this is moving, why aren't you trading?
No, 100% all the time. They're like, I caught this 1 minute gap down here, a fair value gap, or this order block, and how do you not see how obvious it was? Or like when I'm bearish and the market it rips up, everyone in the chat's like, it was the easiest read of all time. I'm like, look, I always say this, guys, I'm glad you guys caught the trade. I'm glad you guys are profitable or in that trade. But for me, you guys aren't going to click the button for me. You guys aren't paying my bills. I'm paying my own bills. I'm going to make my own decisions. The data that I have from trading isn't based off of you guys. It's based off of me. And you got to kind of be selfish about that. Like, it's a me thing, because at the end of the day, like I mentioned earlier, you're the one pressing the button. You're the one who's paying your own bills. No one's gonna come save you. I'm gonna come save myself.
Yeah.
And I understand. And there's some people who give me insights in terms of, maybe check this out a little bit. And look, I'll take your advice. I'll look at it. And if I like it, I'll apply it to my system. I haven't tweaked my system in years at this point, so I don't really look at it no more. But back in the day, that's how it was. So for me, it's like, look, I appreciate everyone's comments, and I'm glad everyone could look at it differently. If you take a group of, because a lot of people in my chat are ICT traders. You take 20 ICT traders. ICT is a big umbrella. All 20 of those guys might trade ICT. There could be ICT traders, but all trade differently.
Yeah.
Someone might trade a 15-minute power 3. Someone might trade only 10 a.m. reversals or whatever the case may be. So just because I'm not able to catch a trade, just because you did, that to me never has done anything to me, because we're all different in our own ways. We all have our little tweaks on trading. And I don't think anyone has the same strategy. They might trade the same strategy, but they might tweak a few things. I don't think anyone is going to go enter and exit at the exact same time. Exit, this is the A+ setup for me. This is the A+ setup for me too, because I have a couple of friends who trade just like me, right? But we have little tweaks that make our trading unique to anyone else's.
Yeah. And I think those tweaks are important though. I think the goal should never be to trade like somebody else.
Yeah.
You have to find the thing that works for you. And I think that's something that a lot of people tend to miss. And I'm glad you kind of reiterated that today. There is one more aspect, again, kind of what we were discussing here a little bit, that I think needs a little bit more clarity, at least from my side. Going back to the idea of boredom. I always refer to boredom as the silent performance killer, because it's the thing that I find not a lot of people expect as part of the game. They think of it as just going to be high stakes, constantly doing something. And therefore it trips them up in the easiest way, because they don't have a plan of what to do for boredom. So my question for you is, what's your plan for boredom, and how did you get better at dealing with it?
So for me, I got bored, right? When I first became profitable, and I was like, wait, this is like, I'm making good money, but like there's like no excitement to it. It's just straight monotone, nothing going on. And then I try to spice it up. Let me size up. Let me get my heart going a little bit. Let me take another trade. And what I learned from that is boredom is good because I'm doing what I need to do. When I'm not bored and I'm feeling it, I'm doing something incorrect. And it was just a simple mindset change in terms of, if I'm bored, it's good. That means I'm profitable. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Anything that gets your heart racing in trading, anything that gets you jittery, you're either oversized, you're taking too many trades, or you know it's not a good trading setup and you take it. And I associated that with losing. So if I'm not bored, I associate it with losing. And that resonates with me today, because if my heart rate is racing, that means I'm oversized, or I'm taking too many trades, or because I had this Whoop on. There's not even a sponsor or anything, but I had this Whoop on, and I got it because I'd like to check my heartbeat during the sessions, right?
Interesting.
And it stays very consistent. It stays very consistent. And I wish I had this on when I was like trading in the past. I could see how much my heart would actually, start racing in terms of when I sized up and things like that. So, and this is a good indication of just you doing what you got to do. Boredom is good, and people just starting associating boredom with being good. And look, if you don't like the market for the first few hours of the day, or you don't think it's gonna be a good day, just leave. Just get off the charts. You don't have to sit there for 8 hours and not take a trade.
Yeah.
You can sit there for 30 minutes and not take a trade, right? But it's the exact same thing. And that's going to come with experience and you being comfortable with the market, doing things without you. And unfortunately, it's usually a painful experience getting there. It doesn't have to be, though. And if people understand early that this is going to be a boring game, this is not going to be very exciting in terms of you slamming the desk like you see on Wolf of Wall Street or any of those movies, that's just not how it is. It's very calm, relaxed. It's just you, the market, and a steady pace.
I think it's all a game of perspective, though, because I've always seen it as, or at least I had it beat into me from a lot of pain, which is your job is not to capture every move in the market, it's to capture every move that aligns with your plan.
100%.
And I think that's what a lot of people, again, they tend to get wrong. They look at the market moving and they instantly think I should be in, introduce FOMO, introduce revenge trading, introduce anything else that gets them into the market. And before they know it, they're looking back on the day and they're like, what have I done?
Exactly.
It's just a mess.
Yeah, and I think for that, this is why data is so important, right? For me, a lot of my losses came from FOMOing, like you mentioned, and things of that nature. So when I looked at my data and I'm looking at it, I'm like, my goal is always being 1% better each day, right? And for me, I don't ever associate my green or red on the day with P&L. As long as I followed my plan, I'm fine, right? If I FOMO and I make $10,000, it's not a good trading day because I know that's not consistent. I need to find something that I can do consistently. And for people who FOMO, it's usually a lack of data. That's what it comes down to. As a trader, you have the days where you know what works for you. And I don't think FOMO is part of those days, right? Yeah. So if people have that data to back them up, and a lot of people, when they lack data, they lack the confidence of being able to miss a move because they think this is it. It's not going to happen again. I look back, okay, I think a great day was Trump's tariff. He put it back and the market went 13%. NQ went 13% in a single day. And I watched the whole thing on live stream. It just kept going, another 100 points, 100 points. And I'm like, wow. I was starting to I think I need to get it. And then I was like, relax. Just calm down and relax because I have a data set over thousands of trades. And I understand when I FOMO, it doesn't go well.
Yeah.
And like I said, it comes from experience. It comes from you having that trust in yourself because of your past experiences. You have to lean on your past experiences because those happen for a reason. You have to be able to learn from them and move forward and understand that, look, I just need to capture what resonates with my system and anything else is pure noise.
Yeah. I think Tony Robbins has got a great quote, obviously not trading related, but I apply it much in the same way, where he talks about this idea that when you can learn to make the worst day of your life the best day of your life, your whole world will change. And I choose to see the same in trading, right? It's so easy. And we go right back to where we started our conversation today, talking about you had this big blow up period before you did the $1 million or close to $1 million in 25 days, right? You looked at that initial thing and somebody could look at that and be completely deflated about it. But with the right mindset, the right perspective, you figure out what you learned from that and take it into the following day. Actually, it becomes data that guides you on the path of eventually where you need to be.
100%. And it's very hard to have that mindset.
100%.
It's way easier said than done, right? Yeah. But this is why when people come into trading, they just have to have different expectations. And that this is the raw reality of trading. You're going to take huge losses. No matter how perfect you think you are, no matter how much, control you think you have over yourself. Like I think I'm a great disciplined trader, right? And I had a blow up, right? So you just need to have that in the back of your mind. Like it's possible. And if it does happen, you can't beat yourself up over it too much. Yeah. Because we're human. We're not robots. Emotions get out of hand. And it's about learning from it. There's only wins and lessons. That's it. You only truly lose when you stop learning from those experiences that put you in a bad mood, put you in a sad mood, and things of that nature. So as long as you're learning, you're still winning.
What were some of your biggest bad habits that you had? And what was your process of overcoming those? Because I get the impression from how we're conversating that you're very much into psychology.
Yes.
And
That's 100%. The most important part of trading is psychology. I don't care about the strategy. I don't care what it's all about the mindset.
Well, see, this is music to my ears because I mean, outside of what we do here, I work as a performance coach and I work largely on psychology.
Yep.
And I agree with you. I think the mind has a huge role in how successful we'll become, not just in trading, but I think in every aspect of life. And again, that comes across in how you speak about trading, in how you speak about life, the ownership that you take, the accountability, all of that. It all comes across. So do you feel like you've learned a methodology to get someone from, hey, I'm feeling FOMO, or I can't stop revenge trading, or I'm always going on till after I take a loss? How do you get them to come past that?
I feel like I'm going to say it again. It's about data.
Data.
You need the data to trust yourself, because when you know something's going to happen, why would you change away from it?
Yeah.
I know when my next 1,000 trades, I'm going to be profitable. If not, in my next 2,000 trades, I will be. If not, next to my 3. So for me, I should not be able to, why would I change my system when I know the outcome? Having data is such a cheat code because it's like you almost know the end game. You can see the end game there. You just need to be able to get there. And it's day by day, take it slow, whatever you got to do. And it's so, and I wish I could just package a psychology, into someone's mind. And just, but there you go.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, some people learn in different ways, or fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it. Some people learn in different ways. Some people need to eat a lot of shit to understand. Some people can learn from my mistakes and be like, oh, you know what? Let me avoid what he did. And some people just can't figure it out overall, right? There's a lot of people out there who just don't have the self-control and self-accountability. Accountability is huge. And that's fine. That means the trading is not for you, which is totally fine too. They might be great, fantastic at something else where I might suck at, right? But in this case, with trading, once I started believing in my system by going and doing it over and 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 over again, that's when I realized I was like, this is it. Like, all I need to do is follow this simple blueprint.
Yeah.
And it's hard because it's like you're walking down the path and there's so many distractions on the side, and you're like, oh, let's say you're going down the middle of a road, right? And it has like, oh, turn right here for like a gift or whatever. And that gift's like FOMO. You just got to keep your tunnel vision and go straight ahead without any distractions. And like I said, with that data you will see the end goal before you even get there. And to me, going for that end goal, and that end goal might keep moving. As you grow as a trader, what I would think is my end goal is when I first started trading would be right now. But now I'm here, I'm like, I want this, this, and this. And it's not about greed, it's about passion.
Yeah.
It's two big different things. Some people want more out of greed. Some people more out of passion and trying to push themselves to see where they can get. And like I said, with the psychology thing, it's all about data and having something you could trust in and rely on when things don't go right.
I want to couple this up with something else, because I really agree with what you're saying here about the importance of data. Something I often preach myself, something I'm keen on collecting over time. But the only thing I find where people will get strayed away from acting on what their data says is because they haven't managed risk correctly. So talk to me about your mindset around how you manage risk. Do you have a specific protocol in how much you risk per trade, per day, per week? What does that look like for you?
So I do have a protocol in terms of how much I risk on a daily basis. And it's usually not about the money. It's about how my trades ended up. If I took one win in the morning, and let's say if it's a really good probability, high probability day, I don't put a limit on how many trades I take. I'll put a limit on how many losses I can take. If I win a trade in the morning and I win and I lose a trade, I can go back in the PM session with the same risk and take one more trade. Regardless of the outcome, I'll be done there, especially 2 losses I'm done. There is rare occasions where I'll take more than 3 trades if it's very, very high probability. My setup's presenting itself and I know what's happening in the market. I'm in tune with it. As soon as I lose those 2 trades in a row, I'm done. I remember in my stream, I took 2 trades within the first 15 minutes of open. I took a loss. I opened. I thought it was a really good high probability setup. I took a loss 15 minutes later and I told the chat I'm done. And guess what? The third trade that I wanted to take and I was looking at it, perfect A+ setup, no drawdown, and it went. And chat's like, oh, look, why didn't you take that one? I have to follow my system. Even if I stray away and take a win on the third trade, what if I didn't? Right? And now I'm losing more than I'm willing to lose in a single day. And in terms of, let's just say, prop firms of that nature, I trade them a little bit more aggressively, but you need to build that buffer. Right? And what the rule that I have with 2 losses, it'll really save you you don't have that much drawdown on those accounts, depending on how much size you're doing, right? So saving yourself after 2 losses is very important to me. And that's something that has been with me since I started trading. Or I would say since I became profitable.
Okay.
Because before I was profitability, I was all over the place. But once I started becoming profitable, that is a rule that I've never, ever tweaked in my life. And I don't think I ever will. 2 losses and I'm done for day trading. That's it. And usually in terms of, I have a dollar value usually in the back of my mind of how much I'm willing to risk per month. Because look, 65% win rate that I have, like you said, losing 5, 6, 7 trades in a row is common. And I tell people it's going to happen in my career. It happens multiple times per year. It just happens, right? So I usually try to keep a cap on basically a monthly stop loss on my live accounts and things of that nature. Luckily, I don't have to really, I never hit it, but I do have that mental cap there just in case. Because like I said, we're human and we might take more losses than we're accustomed to. Look, it's a law of averages. So in my data that I collected through these years of trading, there's been times where I took 10 to 15 losses in a row, right? And I understand that can happen, but capping that off with is a hard stop loss in terms of how much I'm willing to risk per month. That kind of caps it all off. In terms of day trading, 2 losses, I'm done. If I win one and I win the second one, I can still go for the third win if the day's high probability. But if I win one, lose one, and then I win the third one, then calling it a day.
You need the #1 trading tool for traders. Introducing TradeZeller. It doesn't matter if you're a Forex trader, a crypto trader, an options trader, or even a futures trader. TradeZeller is for everyone. To be profitable, you need to have an edge. TradeZeller allows you to identify, manage, tweak, and refine your trading edge. You can connect unlimited accounts to TradeZeller. It will pull all of your data onto a dashboard. It gives you in-depth analytics, and this makes journaling so easy. You can add playbooks, trade replay, full backtesting, all in one single tool. By using TradeZeller, you'll not only understand all of your trading data, but you'll get feedback on exactly what's working and what isn't. Use code PFT for 20% off the yearly subscription or PFT10 for 10% off the monthly. Try it out and watch your trading transform. I think the scenario that you talked about there where you've taken 2 losses, you've hit that max loss per day, and then obviously, as the market does, it's going to present that third opportunity. It's going to be the clean one, 0 drawdown, straight to target. It's always going to be the case. And I think that's what eats away at most people. And I always like to frame it from 2 angles here. The first one, and the one that we started off talking about here, is actually your financial drawdown, right? It's the drawdown that you're taking in your account. But the 2 trade limit, it actually protects you from mental drawdown. And I think that's the part that most people miss. They don't understand that after 2 losing trades, or again, that number is going to be different for some other people, but after a few losing trades, you're on mental drawdown. And even if the perfect opportunity does present, if you don't have the right mindset to capitalize on it, it becomes meaningless anyway. And it just becomes this spiral that you beat yourself up over. It was such a clean trade. Why couldn't I do all the right things? And it just leads down this rabbit hole.
Exactly, because psychology to me is so important. And to me, not making my mind tired is just as important, right? I can't function. You can't function without your brain. If you're just drowsy all day and you've been on the charts all day, you've been taking so many trades. There's been days where I've took so many trades because, like I said, we're not perfect. It happens. And at the end of the day, I'm like, fuck the money. How do I feel? And I didn't want to do anything for the rest of the day. I'm completely done. Like I'm completely zoned out. I have no idea what just happened. I can't even remember what I just did 2 hours ago. And that to me is huge because your mind is your best friend. It is a superpower. And that superpower needs to be supercharged with the correct amount of sleep, what you eat, and what you use it on. Because, and that goes with a lot of things, whether you're doom scrolling on social media, which I struggle with still too. I'm not perfect. Whether you're taking a bunch of trades per day, because taking a lot of trades, I mean, I'm sure you've done it before, is so mentally taxing.
100%.
And it makes you burn out way quicker than you anticipate. And then you might miss a few days where you should have capitalized on. So I just think keeping your mind fresh is something that I prioritize in trading. I prioritize myself over the money 10 out of 10 times. If I'm not feeling it, I'm not going to do it. If I'm well comfortable and confident in what I'm doing, then I'm going to keep pushing. But as soon as I start feeling myself kind of winding down, shutting off, I'm like, all right, it's done. It's time to go.
And is it purely a mental thing? So when you're doing that kind of emotional or thought-based check-in, is it you just asking the question in your mind, or is this something that you have built into journals? Like, what's that process
it's
like?
Usually just, I tried, this is like, I just do a check-in with myself. Like I just think about it, like usually just after my streams, because I do stream for 2 hours. So, the streaming side, reading chat, and I'm like, okay, how do I feel? Do I want to continue for today, or do I not want to continue for today? And most times, I do, because I feel like I prepare well. And some of the preparation, like I said, includes like proper sleep, proper nutrition, things of that nature. Trying to be active. That's something I'm working on more this year as well. And I think little things like that really do help. But there's some days where I'm just like, dude, I don't want to do this at all. Right. And I completely talk to myself. I'm like, do I want to do this? If I don't, I just don't do it. And it's something that a lot of people, it comes back with FOMO, because a lot of people force themselves to do something they don't want to, because they feel like they don't have the opportunity again. Right. The opportunity is always going to be there.
Yeah.
Listen to yourself, listen to your body, and see how you're feeling. And I feel like you can apply this to anything in life. It's not just for trading, because like you said, you're a performance coach. So you've talked about this probably to thousands of people in different careers, right? Different types of jobs in different fields. And you can all apply it to the same thing. And yeah, trading is all about the mind.
100%. I think for a lot of people at the beginning, they never get that part, right? I try and explain to most people that, and again, I put this in a little bit of a layman way, but I say you could teach a monkey to trade, right? Drawing lines and boxes on a chart, that's not difficult. Sticking with your plan when everything inside of you doesn't want to, that's where it gets hard. And the problem with trading is there's never that disconnection between you do the right things and you're going to get paid for it, or you do the wrong things and you're going to get punished for it. Right? It's the days where, like you said, where you kind of stray away from your rules and you get rewarded monetarily. And that starts a cycle of like all your bad behavior indefinitely going forward.
Yeah, it's like almost winning at the casino, right? It's like the worst thing you could do is hit a jackpot on your first trip at the casino, because now you think this is how it's going to be. And it starts building bad habits. You keep coming back, and you overstay your welcome. People love to overstay their welcome in the market. Whether I'm an ICT trader, right? So I always have, key areas of liquidity marked out. If those areas of liquidity get ran without me going in the market, that's it. I'm done. I'm not going to overstay my welcome. I'm not going to trade after the targets have already been hit. And that's where a lot of people mess up too. They just eliminate. If you take what I'm saying in this whole podcast and you break it up into segments, if people start cleaning that up, their trading would be 10 times better by the end of the year. And like I said, notice how I said by the end of the year. Not in one day, not in 1 week, not end of the year, right? To try to be 1, 2, 3, 4% better than you were before, right? And that's just so important to me. And like I said, you could teach a monkey how to trade.
100%.
And it's really, I've known people who barely got into the market and were profitable within like 5 months, right? They're like, yeah, we do a super small size. We're very comfortable with what we're doing, and where we learn, and that's it. And there's some people on the complete opposite spectrum, but it just, like I said, it comes down to the person and what they're doing, and they're using their time wisely. Someone who's been studying the charts for 5 months might be ahead than someone putting in 3 years because of what they're actually doing when they're actually trading and looking at the market. And there's so many different factors, and nothing's black and white, right? All of us, we all have our little things that we do, our little, tweaks, whatever. Before a workout, someone might, do something that they need to like get themselves going, or whatever the case may be. But everyone has their little twist to their trading, twist to their life, and apply it. Don't shy away from it. That's, if I like something a certain way, I'm going to get it a certain way. Yeah. And I think that's very important, because you don't want to be doing something you don't like.
100%. And I mean, that's what trading's about, right? It's about doing something that it's either you're going to enjoy that in and of itself, or it should give you the freedom to enjoy something else.
Exactly.
That
For sure.
you love and want to pursue.
And the freedom is the biggest thing, right?
Yeah.
Because you're going to burn out in trading, and you need to take your breaks. But at the end, it's so rewarding because it's freedom at the end of the day, right? I was able to drop out of school because of trading. And I know I told people don't drop out. I still don't drop out. It was not a good decision looking back on it, but in terms of like where I was at that time. But now, obviously, I'm thankful for everything happened.
There's one part that we touched on a little bit earlier that I kind of want to cycle back to. And I actually put a lot of emphasis on this in everything that I do. And I think it's a part of our day and age that a lot of people don't take or don't make use of, is maybe the right way to put it. And we touched on it in terms of accountability. Now, I know you do a lot of that in how you document and you're transparent with your process. Do you think more people would be better traders if everyone could see what was going on behind the scenes?
I think they would, because I always joke around, right? When I'm not trading with my team and things of that nature, I'm like, imagine I'm standing behind you, right? Would you take that trade?
Yeah.
And everyone's like, no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't. And why are you doing it?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, a lot of people aren't out in public like that. But I promise you, if they were and they had someone to keep them accountable, they would do much better. And unfortunately, I already think if you need someone to help you become accountable, you're kind of already on the wrong path of trading, because it's a game where you're accountable for yourself, right? But I do tell my people, imagine someone's watching you, imagine someone's right there, and see how you wouldn't do that if I was watching you. You wouldn't do that if ICT was behind you, you know? And why were you doing it then? Right? And I think it's kind of like a scolding a little bit. It's just like, don't do those silly mistakes. And some people really take that into account, and they start noting, okay, like, I feel like I'm over trading. What would my mentor say? Or what would someone who I look up to say? And they would most likely say no if the trade's bad or whatever the case may be, or if they're over trading. And there's the opposite side too. People are like, oh, look, I took this trade. I wouldn't have taken this if you were there. But I was like, did it match with your setup? Did it match with everything? Then that's good you took the trade. I applaud you that you took the trade. Like, you need to celebrate the trades you took, that you follow your system, and even though you lost, that's still a win. People need to understand that's still a win, because when you get that trade under your belt, the next trade, the data is going to be like, the wind's coming, right? So if you're losing and you're following your system, I applaud you, right? It's just those other people who need that extra accountability, which I think, hey, go ahead and live stream. No one's stopping anyone from live streaming. People will tune in to watch, right? And if that's what helps you stay accountable, that's good. Because for me, when I live trade, it keeps me accountable too, because I understand that people are here to watch, to learn, and I need to be the best version of myself so they can also learn as well.
Yeah.
And it keeps me more accountable, and it keeps everyone else more accountable. And I think it's a great thing to kind of put it out there with random people too. I always try to say, keep it away from the people close to you, because especially if you're not profitable, people might, mentally bring you down by saying it's not worth it, or it's dangerous, it's not safe. But yeah, the trading space in general on Twitter, Instagram, like, there's a lot of good people out there, and there's a lot of good people who like to collaborate in groups, and they trade in front of each other and things of that nature. I think if you're doing it the right way, it's a great tool to actually become someone who follows their plan day in and day out.
Do you generally recommend, like, most people not talk to friends and family about what they're doing in the markets?
It depends who you're talking to, because I know a lot of people who they told their parents, and their parents were very, no, this is not going to work out. Look, I'm the first person who traded in my family. So when I told my parents, they're Punjabi parents, they're Indian household, they're like, no, I think you should go. Because they already had a whole, he's going to go to college, he's going to get a degree, he's going to work a good job, whatever. So when I started straying away from that, they were like, oh no, this is, it's not consistent. It's not this, it's not that. So it depends who you tell, because I also had my brother and my cousin, and they were telling me the complete opposite. They're like, no, do it. See what happens, right? And they're a big push in my career to kind of go to where I am now. And also, it is good to talk to people who you trust and fully don't judge you. Like, I love talking to my girlfriend after the day and recapping on what happened, whether it's a bad day, whether it's a good day. You can have deeper conversations with a loved one than you would have it with someone random, right? But you got to be mindful the person you're talking to isn't someone who's going to bring you down unintentionally. Yeah. My parents didn't do it intentionally. They're just afraid. Like, I totally understand. If my kid who was 17 dropped out of college because he wanted to do day trading, I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Especially if you don't know what it is. Yeah. It's not like they're coming from a bad site, but it could negatively affect your psychology in terms of applying more pressure on you. So talking to someone who understands the game versus someone who is like a parent figure, I think that's the better route to go, because if someone doesn't understand something, they tend to be afraid of it. And they might put that fear onto you. Whether if you have people who are like, go, you should do it. I think that's a better motivation and better inspiration for you to keep going. Yeah.
I really like these conversations because, again, I think they take away from, hey, look, this is what you need to know on the charts. And these are all the mental aspects that a lot of people don't consider when they're going into prop firms, personal accounts, whatever it is, right? But, in the context of what we're talking about here, succeeding in the prop game, it's, at least from how you've described it, it's a lot more psychological than I think most people will realize.
Yeah, a lot of people really think it's the technical side of things, and they might get a couple payouts and things of that nature through the technical side of things, but then go through a bunch of rough patches, right? And then they're like, why? And I'm like, what have you been doing differently than what you were before? And the usual answer is, I don't know. Because there's no documentation of it. There's nothing of that sort to kind of get you to be like, oh, this is what I was doing wrong this time, or this was what I was doing wrong this time. And a lot of people, some people say, oh, I was dealing with external issues outside of trading. Okay, now you notice that. And it's okay. If you look, I think we've all done it. We had external issues, and we still came into the market. We took losses. And I don't bash on those people. I don't bash anyone, because I think it's all part of the learning experience itself.
Yeah.
Right? And I think once you go through so many phases of trading and take so many losses, as long as you're categorizing your losses and why it's happening, I think it's fine. And that builds your psychology up, because you know what to do next time and what to avoid. The issue is when you take these losses and you don't put them into a side and don't tell yourself what happened. How was I feeling outside the market? Or how was I feeling while I was trading? Was there anything external that was bothering me or disturbing me? And things of that nature, because the most important part of this is understanding why something is happening. Why am I winning? Why am I losing? Why am I break even? Why did this day not go as planned as this day? And it could be market conditions. It could be the market. Your setup didn't present themselves. It could be you're arguing with your spouse. It could be school pressure, whatever. I had exams. It could be a bunch of different things. There's no black and white things what it might be.
Yeah.
It's just realizing and recognizing it. That's the most important part, because a lot of times where people look at that and they look at themselves, they don't have a real answer on why something happened. It's very important to find out why.
So for me, I hear that as self-awareness. Like, self-awareness is so important as part of this game. Do you feel like you always had a high level of self-awareness, or is that something that you had to mold into yourself in a process-orientated way?
I try to be a self-aware person, but definitely when I started trading, like 10 times, right? Because realizing why I was losing was the biggest factor for me. And people ask me how long it took me to be profitable. It took me 8 months. And that's usually people, oh my God, it's so quick. But it was the self-awareness of why I was losing.
Yeah.
I was so focused on why I was losing. Look, the wins are great and they all had, common factors, but the loss is what I was concerned about. What is happening? Why is it happening? When is it happening? Those are the 5 whys and whens and what's. That's what I asked myself. And to me, to do that, you need to be self-aware on yourself as a person. Like, I had to come down to some real realizations of who I was as a person and what my vices were and what were my struggles that I struggle with. And it was a lot of dopamine spikes. I struggle with that because I wanted that instant gratification. I wanted that instant win, instant rewards kind of mindset. And when I took a step back and had a self-awareness of like, okay, let me take a deep breath, let me breathe and understand why something's happening. And that's what it was. In trading, even now, I'm kind of learning things about myself on the fly when now I'm stepping into the podcast life. I'm learning something about myself right now, right? And there's just always something that you should be always learning about yourself, right? And learning about other things as well. Not only self-awareness, but awareness of what's happening around you is very important. And I think that's definitely, self-awareness is a huge trait that someone needs as a trader.
I love it. I love it, man. It's definitely a message that I would get behind and I would advocate for everybody to start building. But again, I think it goes back, and this is full cycle. This is becoming a message that I think we're hearing a lot of today, which is you need your data.
Yeah.
Right?
100%.
If you journal, if you have your data, it helps raise that level of self-awareness. You spot those patterns of behavior. And these are all things that you can start being proactive then rather than reactive in the moment. And I think that's where a lot of people will find their breakthroughs.
Exactly. That data is going to get you that confidence level you need and kind of realization that I can do it, right? A lot of people talk negatively about themselves. And the power of the mind is if you're going to keep saying negative things, you're going to attract negative things. And negative things are going to happen to you. Like, I try to always think positive, and even in bad situations, I'm positive. How can I turn this into something that's good versus, having a down day? Look, I always say there's never bad days, there's bad moments, right? If you have so much time throughout the day, you can't let 1 hour of the day ruin the rest of what you're going to do, right? And look, there's going to be sad moments, with family and things of that. People get old. And look, I'm not saying that thing. I'm talking about the little things, that the inconveniences throughout the day, I was complaining earlier today because I had a huge headache, right? I was like, oh my God, I got a headache. I got to talk so much. And I'm like, look, what's the positive behind it? I got to meet you.
Yeah.
We're going to talk now. And we have a very good conversation. And just looking at things at a positive lens, you start attracting positive energy and positive people around you. Because you are as good as the people around you. And if you're surrounded by negativity, you're going to go down the negative path. I truly believe that. But if you surround yourself with positive people who inspire you, motivate you, and have true aspirations from themselves, I think you're going to follow that light as well.
100%. I always see it as energy is very infectious. Whether it's good or bad is irrelevant, but it's infectious. So if you surround yourself with the right people, then I agree. I think you get to great places. All right, I want to start to wind things down a little bit. I have a couple of segments that I want to be doing with each guest.
Okay.
Nothing crazy. One of them, few quick fire questions.
Right.
And then the last one, I will explain when we get to it.
All right.
Okay.
Sounds good.
We'll start off with some very simple quick fires. One rule that you'll never break.
One rule that I'll never break in trading, and I talked about this a little bit earlier, I live and die by this. I will not take a trade if I take 2 losses.
Nice.
That is one trading rule I will never, ever break.
Nice. One sign that you're about to overtrade.
One sign that I'm about to overtrade is when I question my entry and what I'm looking at. A lot of times where I'm like, I'm good for the day, and then I go for that extra little thing. I'm like, I hesitate. When I'm trading normally, I never hesitate. But that might be a second hesitation, but I recognize it to myself. When I hesitate, it's usually not a good thing because I have a very strong, I'm never second guessing myself in anything I do. If I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. But a second I do, and I'm like, okay, maybe this is not a great decision.
Nice. Okay. If you could give yourself one piece of advice on your first day of trading, what would it have been?
That's a great, it's something I say a lot is slow down to speed up. You need to take a step back and realize your process and the progress you're going to make is going to happen over time, not within a month.
I like that. Something about what you said there, it struck a chord with me. There's a fantastic quote by Alex Hormozy. And he says, the long way is the shortcut because the shortcut never gets you there.
Love that.
It's beautiful. It's such a perfect reflection of life, trading, everything. But yeah, beautiful. Okay, I like those. Right, last bit that I want to cover with you today. We're calling this Confessions of a Trader. So what we're going to start as a segment on this podcast is we're going to have, at some point, some of the audience write into us with confessions about their trading.
Okay.
It could be moments, it could be situations. Right now, I've come up with a few scenarios and I'm going to read them out. And I want you to just give me your thought, your take, your advice, whatever your raw reality that's going through your mind in that moment. I just want to hear it, right? Okay, so today I don't get why people think trading is hard. I'm 8 months in and I've made $10,000 from prop firm payouts. This is easy. LOL.
Oh my God. First of all, payouts, right? What are the expenses you had? Also, 8 months is not enough to dictate if you're profitable or not in terms of can you do it over a year and 2 years, right? I could resonate with him a little bit because I was profitable within 8 months in terms of I was making money. But I knew back then, I was like, if I can't do this over 2 years, then what is it really? So yeah, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Well, congrats on getting 10,000 in payouts, but you got a long road ahead of you.
Nice. I like it. Strong message to wind down on. Dhesi, it's been a pleasure. Honestly, it's been a really good process in getting to know you today, understanding your mindset and figuring out what's got you to where you are today. Thank you for coming on, man.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed the show, talking with you. It was a great time.
Appreciate it, man. Right, guys and girls, over to you. What was your biggest takeaway from today? What was your biggest lesson that you took away from something that Dhesi had to share with us today? Drop it in the comments below. We'll be really eager to see what you guys have taken away from today's episode. As always, if you love this, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and check out some of the other episodes that are on the screen in front of you. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.